So much seems to have happened. It's vital now that we take a step. I'm going to take a step back from what the plan was because we need to talk about something. So it's going to be a shorter video today, but we need to discuss this and make sure everyone's clear about it. And then also you can help us make sure it happens, or what we want to happen happens. Hi, my name is Ross, the creator and founder of Geordie Consulting and Geordie Intelligence, the YouTube channel we're watching right now. What I need to talk about is really the future of Power BI as a whole, because I'm concerned. Okay, I'm seeing a big shift in Microsoft's stance. They are definitely moving towards a SaaS push. We want to get as much out of licensing as what they're asking for, which, let's be honest, they're a business. That's what businesses are going to do. The issue is that they are neglecting the pro side of the business. And pro is critical to the success of Fabric. Mess up pro, you will kill your pipeline to get new customers, new areas of business into Fabric. And that's going to ultimately cut off your revenue stream. So let's expand on what I'm talking about. Let me go through and provide you with some evidence, and you can let yourself know, or let us know down below, share the conversation, have a discussion, keep it civil in the comments, okay? But I think it's really important that we have this discussion and you understand really why I'm saying what I'm saying. And if you think it's wrong, by all means, prove me wrong. I'm happy to be proven wrong. So here we are, okay? This is the article that kind of sparked quite an awful lot of conversation. What's going on? The future of Gen1 Dataflows. So back in the 2nd of April this year, Microsoft announced that they're going to make Gen1 Dataflows legacy, which is the first step on depreciation. They've been doing things with this, and actually at the end of last year, I put an article out saying this is wrong, this isn't good. There's a comment on a video where I'm really saying this is a bad step, this is a step in the wrong direction. Okay? They've now kind of officially done it. I had been told at the time, no, never happened, never happened. And now saying that we're starting the process. In terms of, honestly, timescales for this between legacy and depreciation, 12 to 18 months is the minimum time frame generally for these things to happen. I'm saying generally because they could change it tomorrow and say, well, 6 months. But generally it takes time. You know, you legacy it, and then you're saying, right, we are now going to announce an end of service date and then a removal date or a retirement date. Bear with me. Let's see if we can do this, okay? Honestly, I have such problems with the whiteboard on here because I can draw today, right? Okay. So let's rub that out. This is going to work. Fantastic. We'll do this. All right. So the issue you have, okay, is UC1. Okay. So use case 1 is what? Come on, go away. Use case 1 is the entry point into Power BI for a large company. Okay? So, entry point. There's no way of avoiding a use case 1 scenario for a large enterprise. And we're talking large enterprise because this is why this is a really bad idea. Okay? So use case 1 is the entry point. Use case 1 will be, 10 to 20 users, and we'll have a budget probably, let's say 15K to be nice, okay? In terms of total cost to deliver use case 1, right? These things are not high cost. That 15,000 potentially includes salaries, includes all sorts of stuff in terms of time that people are going to spend on your project. It does not give a huge amount of spend for licensing, even less so now with SaaS models. You know, Microsoft is pushing the SaaS model. That's where Microsoft is making their money now. My goodness me. That's where Microsoft's making their money, the SaaS side of the business, yeah? So SaaS. Okay? And this is partly, there's an element of Microsoft issue in here as well. perpetual licensing versus SaaS, they're two very different ways of working. And this is one of the things that Microsoft is now stuck in. They've transitioned into SaaS as this is how we work. But I think in some ways the licensing mindset is still stuck in the perpetual, where we have to get you to buy this during your recruitment, during your procurement cycle, because that's what you're going to use for the next 3 or 4 years. That's not how Power BI realistically works. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. So do that. So the company I worked for, I'm not going to mention the name here, you can check my LinkedIn profile, you'll be able to work it out who I was working for when Power BI was first released. Okay, but their use case one, okay, I had a budget of about £2,000. That's what I had, £2,000 for it. That was what was put there. And that was offset by, we can buy Ross a whiz-bang laptop every year, or we can give him a trial of 20 Power BI licenses, see what he can do, about £2,000. Okay? Now, we did that by using Power BI Desktop, primarily to build the models, publishing off into Power BI Pro. So, here, day one. Okay? Fast forward that 5 years or so, like there, okay, with 2,000 plus. 2,000 plus users and premium. Okay? So I would never have got use case one started on the basis of you're going to need to provide costings for all these additional roles or for all this additional stuff, right? It went into premium. A big issue, okay? This is a serious problem now. So the only way Microsoft really got the business there in terms of the analytics suite, given that there was another rival analytics suite within the business that was being pushed as this is the future, was because of this low price point to start, the low cost of entry. What's that got to do with Dataflows, you're saying? Okay. When we started doing this, Dataflows weren't really a thing. Okay. I think they might have just been released around then. I don't think they were yet. I think they came out shortly after this was initially done. Dataflows provide a data layer. Now, when I first started doing Power BI, we didn't have secondary reports. We didn't have anything. So every report was in a Power BI, was a full PBIX file with semantic model and visualizations with it. So if you wanted to build multiple reports, you had to build multiple things. And that's why I now push back against that, because we now have this capability of separating the two. But it's not uncommon, and almost every client I go and see, we're doing the same thing. They've got built all this report. We built this cool report. It's got 50 pages in it, and we need to make those 50 pages work for everybody. No, this doesn't work that way. Not to mention, you then got this huge hulking weight of something that you can't change little bits easily. It all becomes a mess. Separate those out, take the data model out, have the visuals separately, makes such a difference. And you'll find it makes life so much easier for you as well. But it's a difficult one for people to get their head around. Oh, wait a minute, okay. When they see it, it makes a change. That whole idea of let's separate the data is then where Dataflow Gen1 shined, okay? It really shone. So for me, if we go back to here, we had a SQL reporting instance. So we could use SQL reporting. We could use direct query connection. We could do something with that. The issue is direct query is really slow. So you can't run your main report pack on a direct query connection and have it work practically. That main page loading has to be punchy, has to be quick. So we can't use direct query. If we put everything, okay, if everything flows into the model, how can I tweak a data stream? What happens when a platform changes? what do we need to do? And suddenly it becomes the case, right, we've got to update this whole model to fix one little area because this platform's been upgraded. It's a problem. With Dataflows, it allowed us to separate and get to the point that we had flow 1, flow 2, oh my goodness me, flow 3, for example, okay? And all of those, let's move that out, it's not under my head. Would go to model, okay? And then model goes out to reports, goes out to spreadsheets, whatever you need, okay? This now means if we have an issue around here, for example, so flow 1 doesn't refresh one day, the nice thing, the beautiful thing that Dataflows did is they do a replica refresh. That makes sense. So they take your existing data stays online, and it rebuilds the data next to it. And then when it's built, it then deletes the last version. So it means if a Dataflow fails to refresh, the worst thing that's going to happen is you've got yesterday's data or the data from the previous refresh. You haven't lost anything. Your model will still refresh because it will still be able to get data through. Okay? You should set alerts up so, well, now something's happened here, go and do something about it. Likewise, if we need to tweak something and we need to go and make changes, we've got a known output point because we know where the output is. We can now make sure we can tweak it and make sure it comes through. We could replace Dataflow 1 with Dataflow 4, for example, build a Dataflow 4 that's going to replace 1, make it all consistently good and working and validate it and test it, and then simply cut out 1 and replace it with 4. And the model will still work. Okay, yes, we need to go into the model and we change the connections, we change a GUID, validate it, but it becomes a really clear and consistent workflow that can be managed, and most importantly, does not require a massive investment in IT, because that's the issue that BI has to recognize, and I think is being forgotten again, and it's a real concern. Okay, we'll touch that in the conclusions. Gen 2 data flows, Gen 2 are a fabric component. Okay, this is one of the things I'm saying. So because they're a fabric component, you potentially are charged per use. Well, you are. Okay, you are charged per use. There's no way of saying it, right? You are. The way fabric works, let's go back to here. Okay. Fabric. Okay, so fabric runs on CU, compute units. Okay. You start fabric really simply on an F2. And they go up to, I think, is it F4096? Right? Something like that. Okay. The next one, the critical one to remember for you guys is going to be, I'll put this in here, F64, which is the equivalent of what the old P1 was. Okay, so that's where P1 enters the frame, as it were. And the F is fabric, of course, and the 264, it's 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256. Yeah. That's where it goes. They relate to effectively how many concurrent compute units you can use in a second. Wow. Okay. Not heard it explained that way before, but that's what it comes down to. Okay, so any action you do, actions use compute. Okay, everything. Which is the cornerstone of Fabric is this compute. So if you are paying for an F2, which is like the entry level F2, brilliant, you got an F2, just our starting point, just for our use case one, F2, and you have your, let's do this. Let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. Okay, so we've got 2 per second, yeah? So let's multiply that by 60. Let's multiply that by 60 again, 60 seconds, 60 minutes, yeah? And then let's multiply that by 24. So we've got 172,800 compute cycles per day, okay? How many compute cycles am I going to use for my Dataflows Gen2 to refresh? I don't know. And this is kind of partly where the challenge is, that it makes it really difficult for that use case one discussion to say, right, we're going to go for a P2, for an F2. But then you think, well, we shouldn't go for an F2. We should probably go for an F8 to be on the safe side. Okay. So, an F8. So what is that? Times that by 4. So that's, we're going to be up towards 800,000 territory per day. Hopefully we're not going to go beyond there. But again, I don't know. Okay. Because I don't know, and there isn't a tool out there that will give me an indication for, right, this is what your Dataflow is going to use, your Gen2 Dataflow is going to use. It makes me nervous, okay? Then don't forget, because we're in Fabric, the semantic model needs to be refreshed. That's going to use compute. People are going to access the report content. That's going to use compute. People want to use Copilot. That's going to use compute. Do you see where I'm going with this? Okay, I don't have an issue with the licensing model. I really don't. The issue I have is there is still no consistent way of saying, right, this is how I can baseline a report in Pro to say this is what we expect the compute to be. And from there, I can then say, right, this is how I'm going to right size my content. Even if you're going from premium to Fabric, so premium capacity to Fabric, you can sort of guess using the Fabric capacity metrics, using FUAM, you've got a good indicator for what you would expect to use. But it's not something Microsoft will guarantee or say, right, yes, this is right. They sort of say, well, yeah, it should be. So from an enterprise perspective, like big companies spending lots of money, this is just, I don't understand. I'm not sure, and we're talking, like when we talk license fees for these, let's have a look at that. So we want Fabric. Okay. So go Fabric. Let's go down here. So we want to be, let's go with UK. So just for the sake of the argument, we go with UK. When I can find UK, let's go UK South. So I think it's around Reading way. And let's say we're going to go, F64? Big business, P1, F64. We're going to use it, it's going to be on, because the idea we can shut down Fabric doesn't work. I'm sorry. We're going to shut down the report content. Like, we're going to shut down the BI server outside core hours. That's not going to work for a business. Come on, guys. Give your head a shake. And we're getting here. So we want to be 1 year reserved because that's sensible. Storage, one lake storage. Let's go for 100 gigabytes. Be on the safe side. It's not too expensive. Basic, blah, blah, blah. And we want to change the currency to be GBP. Okay. Oh. So that alone, there we go. 4,300, 4,400 pounds per month just for that. But you'll also need Power BI Pro licenses on top to do the development work, because you need Pro licenses to do development on top of the Fabric. What about if we say we are a big business, we've got our Microsoft sales team say, oh, I know this way, whisper, 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 fear-mongering. I'm not dissuasion. There's a lot of stuff to be concerned about from a business perspective. there's a good value proposition. It's good to look and say, well, we're actually going to go down the E5 route, or even now, I think they're saying the E7, was it E7 that was released a couple of months ago? E5. E5 includes Power BI Pro. If you've gone down the E5 route, you shouldn't be looking at F64, because one of the biggest selling points of F64 or P1 was you don't need a pro to access content that's held in premium. So if you want to just be a read-only viewer, you don't need pro. But if everyone has pro, it should be very specific, targeted use of Fabric, which should be a lower tier, wouldn't it? You'd look and say, right, this use case here is going to be, or we'd say, right, this use case here is an F8 on its own. So we're going to put an F8 around that, ring fencing, F8. This over here, F16, ring fence it. There we go. Okay, so we've got two separate Fabric environments. We might license them together and say, right, well, we're going to go up to an F32 because that's how it's licensed, but we're going to divide it into smaller capacities, which you can do, and divide it up around the business. With that methodology, you might get to an F64 and F128, but because of the way it scales, you're probably not going to go beyond an F64 at the absolute most. Realistically, in terms of looking at stuff, you know, if you've got a single use case that's going up beyond an F32, it's got a problem, and it's probably a case of we need to rip apart that whole way it's being built, understand exactly what's going on, and redeploy it. And you'll find we're using a lot less compute. Again, rule of thumb, not baked in stone. So that's not how this works, is it? And again, this is the challenge. So this is quite a lengthy discussion went on as a result of this blog post. Leading to the 20th, this got an addendum put through. Okay, so Gen 1 is going to remain in support. So it will remain supported, but it is in a legacy state. Yeah, so in terms of legacy, we are not going to do anything to develop it any further. But to be honest with you, I don't think Microsoft has done much to develop Gen 1 data flows the last 5 years, if I'm being hand on heart honest. And a lot of their gripes and grumblings about Gen 1, I don't disagree with. Some of them I think, well, is actually really good. Some of them I think, well, okay. So one of the things they want, Gen 2 allows like shared collaboration build. I've said many times, I've said it so many times, the way that Gen 1 locks down to a single developer and you have to take over development is really good for a business team. And Power BI has to be considered as a business tool. It's not an IT tool, it's a business tool. And as such, we have to develop around that mindset, not a, how can we have a whiz-bang cool IT solution? Which I'd love to, it's a business tool. So what do you think? Dataflow Gen 1 is old, it is tired, it is full of issues. Okay, there are lots of problems within Dataflow Gen 1. It is far from perfect. What it delivers for a business, though, is a pro-level data layer. And the data layer is fundamental to business-wide analytics. We need to make sure we have one source of the truth for everything. By being able to pull from a system and have these are the curated tables that will be used for analytics built, which you've just seen me certify that data flow for, that's producing core tables that will then be used for one report. But that doesn't mean that's the only semantic model that would ever pick them up, which is again why we say, separate out your data process, your data ingestion routines, and be willing to reuse them. So next time we have go, didn't use that. It might be the case we filter big chunks of it out, but we've used the same source of truth. So if my semantic model is coming out with one data source and somebody else's semantic model is coming out with something different, we can track back through the lineage and work out what's going on. And it's not going to be just, well, we're both actually doing exactly the same thing, but I ran my report half an hour later than Steve ran his, which is, I see boardrooms lose hours of time every month from those kind of discussions. The efficiency comes from that standardization. That's what Dataflow Gen1 brought to the game. Okay, here is a dedicated source of truth. If it's in the semantic model, that semantic model's endpoints has to be the source of truth, which is problematic because the semantic model, yes, it is the source of truth, but how do you then validate what's gone into the semantic model? That is the problem. Dataflow allowed you to validate. This is what we came out with from here. We could go back, unpick it, look through, it's there. We didn't have to also say, well, the semantic model is now called into question. This data source is being called into question. This part of the report pack is called into question. But it's not a case of the whole report is being called into question. Even if it is like quite a fundamental part of it, it becomes a data issue. Okay, don't get me wrong, there's still the same about equates to about the same in a boardroom. Oh, your reports are rubbish. But being able to say, right, we can unpick and backtrack through because we have a data flow goes a long way. Okay, Gen2, yeah, in theory, it can do it. It's quicker. It does this. It does all sorts of things better. It also breaks businesses. Really breaks them really badly. So I'm not going to air laundry, but it's one of those things. Dataflow Gen2, it's not a like-for-like replacement. It adds a lot of functionality. It adds a lot of capability, which is very good and very useful, but it is very IT-centric. And that is one of the headaches that we've now got with the way Fabric is being deployed. That Fabric is being pushed as this is what is going to be the future of Power BI. Fabric is being pushed as very much an IT-centric tool. And analytics and BI, the clue is in the name, business intelligence. It needs to be business focused, it needs to be business owned. If we in IT go and build a report pack and send it to the business, I can guarantee they will use it for maybe 2 or 3 months before requirements have changed and they'll start to do stuff in Excel if they cannot get the flexibility out of whatever we've built. So we have to have that subtlety and that nuance that allows the business to understand how to be protected and be comfortable with that protection, but also is able to be heavily involved in the development. And that is why when we have seen this in use in businesses, they are successful in Power BI. That is why Microsoft still has the Fabric adoption framework. What's the Power BI adoption framework? Okay, and it's very clear that this is not only IT. The business has to be fully engaged and involved in it. You have 2 key areas that the business are involved with. 2. It's not a case of saying, well, the business are told. They are actively involved in the analytics process within the organization because of those 2 areas. Okay, and that is the community of practice, the extended areas within teams, the direct connections that interact with you regularly and that you help and you mentor, and the center of excellence, which is the combination of IT and some super people from the community of practice who will be more actively engaged in enterprise-wide analytics solutions. Because only there do we get that combination of local knowledge of what's actually going on, but also how do we overlay that IT rigor, change management, all those kind of things onto the process to protect the analytics, because the business wants the analytics to be there and consistent. They don't want the, oh, what am I going to do, all this other stuff. It needs to work together. Okay, so yeah, I hope you like that. So I'm sorry, I had to say something about all this week. It's pushed our schedule back. We'll go back into looking at the DevOps side, looking at actually what's going on with our model again as we keep developing it. But I thought we have to have this conversation because I've pushed and backed Dataflow Gen1 as a way of doing it. What I'm really backing is the concept of having a fundamental data layer available to all clients of Power BI as a core requirement of the platform. So let me know down below what you think. For now though, stay safe, take care, ta-da.